Big old coon too.
Obama.
Thanks, miss. Boy, if that don't make you smile, I don't know what it will, man. I don't. You need to check your post, bro. You
Welcome
did.
to Thoughts of a Dog Man podcast. On this episode, we'll be talking about starting puppies for new and beginning handlers. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about some dogs.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Stevie Thomas of Ballin' Out Kennels. And I'm happy you're here. I'm happy to see you again. We missed you. But y'all know what time it is. We are going to talk about some dogs. We're going to talk about some dogs. So last week, we talked a little bit about breeding and brains of the dogs. Okay, and we're going to keep moving forward with, and if you haven't caught that episode, why don't you go ahead and check it out. It's called Breeding and Brains. It's basically talking about how breeding plays into setting yourself up to have a good puppy to work with, which will eventually turn into an awesome older dog that you can have for many years to enjoy and be a pleasure to have. But we're going to talk about starting puppies. That's what we're going to talk about today. That's some of the thoughts I had just going off of, puppy talk. This time of year, everybody's super excited, me included, on getting a new puppy to work with. So that way come fall, you can run and have a dog to work with and just, again, start creating those memories and getting off on the right track. So, again, it's really important. I thought I had this week. It's really important to have a strong foundation for the puppy. And not just a foundation with the parents, but now we're going to talk about foundation with you. Creating a bond with your puppy, it goes without saying, it needs to be done. Sometimes I don't think we take as much time to really cement this part with our pups. Most of us aren't, especially being a new owner, a new handler. Maybe it's your first time really having a puppy, or you're really new into it, and it's maybe the first or second time that you're really dealing with these puppies, or even somebody who's just now making the leap and joining the club of having a hunting dog. We're talking to you. I'm talking to you. So it's really, sometimes we don't take enough time to really cement that bond between you and that pup. And that means really just spending time with it, letting that pup realize who you are, letting them know your voice, letting them get, recognize your voice. Really just spending time with them, letting that puppy be a puppy. You're going to see the more you can do that as a young dog is coming up, as this pup is growing, you'll see the time that you spend and take working with them right now will really pay dividends down the road as that dog is getting older, as that dog is starting to hunt, as that dog is really starting to pick up on what you're really trying to have them do. It really plays a huge part in letting that puppy be a puppy. You may be thinking, you may be new to it, you may be asking yourself, well, what exactly does that mean? Letting a puppy be a puppy. Well, pretty much that means don't try to start necessarily training right away. Now, there's some training things you can do with a real pup, and we're talking 8 weeks till we're going to cut it off, 6 or 7 months old. Those are really puppies in my eyes. Well, to me, a pup really goes up to almost a year and a half. Then they become a young dog, in my opinion. But for puppies, letting a pup be a pup basically means let him teeth, let him explore, let him do everything that he would do as a normal pup without him even being a hunting dog. There may be people out there who think that a hunting dog is necessarily different from a pet. A lot of us, we treat our hunting dogs as pets. They're still part of the family. We really don't treat them any different. Yeah, they may have an outside kennel, and most of us have multiple dogs. A lot of them enjoy being with their kennel mates more than actually being in the house. But with a puppy, I usually like to bring him in the house at this point to, again, spend that time with him. Let him realize who you are. Let him experience a bunch of different things. And you really pay attention to that dog. Of course, we want to pick a dog that's more bold. We want to pick a dog that's active and all these sort of things. But now you're going to put them in a new environment. You have to really watch them. So while experiencing this dog, while experiencing this puppy, you're really paying close attention to how they act. That way you can read that dog. You can start getting a bead on them right away, being an 8-week-old pup when you're just getting them home. 8 weeks old, to 12 weeks old. You can really start to pay attention. And basically what I'm getting at is socializing. Put the dog in a lot of situations. And I'm not talking about hunting situations. You're not going to take them out to the woods and leave them or any of that sort of stuff and just let them kind of fend for themselves. But I mean, get them around people. Letting people play with them. Everybody loves a new pup. Letting people play with them. Getting around other dogs to where they get used to those things. Sometimes you may, have a situation where the dog may be a little bit sheltered. It's really, can play a part in their development. So really socializing them, getting them in a different situation around a bunch of different people and letting them realize, okay, people aren't that bad. And if nothing else, they have you there to fall back on once you build that bond to where they're not too worried about it. If nothing else, you can always comfort them and make sure they're following and tracking the right way. Early obedience. That could really show you how smart that dog is starting out. Can he sit? Can he know its name? Doing some of those drills and doing some of those, early techniques play dividends down the road. Because as you get along in this, and some, seasoned veterans will tell you, it's rough when you got a dog that does not listen. You can be out there hunting with some buddies or even on a competition, and it's time to catch the dogs for whatever reason. Maybe it's time to go home. Maybe you're going to move to a different spot. And now there's a dog that just don't listen. You can call his name. You're out there yelling and yelling and yelling, and the dog just don't want to listen. Let's not make that be you. And a lot of that can be handled in this beginning stage. Letting that dog realize what its name is, realize who you are, and when you call, it comes. Something that, I'm going to start implementing too, or have been recently, been offering up to people is clicker training. Using a clicker for these beginning obedience steps has been a game changer for me. Has been a game changer. And if you're a new hunter and you're just now getting into it, I really suggest you looking into clicker training. And I'll probably do a video. I'm actually working on having a Ballin' Out Kennels clicker that's gonna help name recognition, just early obedience. Will the dog come when you call it? All those things that are very important in the very beginning. It'll help. It helps so much. Cementing that clicker basically is marking that moment in time for that dog. So as you're doing it, and I'll talk real brief on it. So with the clicker, basically what it is, it's going to lock in that moment in time for that dog. Whatever action, once you hit the clicker, it's going to mark. It's like a timestamp on a video. It's going to mark that location. It's going to mark that time or that period in that dog's mind, and that action that he was doing. It's going to lock it in, and it's a marker for that. Now you're going to couple it with, eventually its name, eventually its action. How do you do it? Pretty much I use dog food. I use its own dog food that it's used to eating. It knows what it smells like. It's super excited, and I do it before an early meal. Again, a lot of us work, and I've talked before that you can do a lot of great training in just 15 minutes. Really just 15 minutes. So what I like to do when I'm getting a dog to just come to me and start learning its name. I'll have the food in my hand. As the dog gets curious of the food, he'll stick his nose up to it. I'll click it, and I'll give him some food. And sometimes you basically, some people call it like charging the clicker. What is that? You're basically getting the dog used to knowing that clicking sound is a good thing. So I'll have the dog food in my hand, and I'll just start feeding the dog. I'll just start feeding him bits and bits and bits of kibble, and I'm just clicking as I'm feeding, clicking as I'm feeding, clicking as I'm feeding. They'll start to realize, oh, every time Dad clicks, I get a piece of food. So now you're going to make the dog work a little bit, and you're going to step back and call him. As he takes a step towards you, you're going to click feed. You may take another step back, you're going to click feed as that dog is coming up to get the food. Basically, you're cementing him to come to you. As you do that over a series, again, keep it short for a young pup. You do this over a series, and if the dog is super smart, it really doesn't take that long. Then you would just implement a word or implement his name and just keep doing those series of steps. And eventually you'll say its name. The dog is going to come to you because eventually he's going to think he's going to get a piece of food, which he can still give him treats for a long period of time. But again, you can see the progression of what it can be. And you can teach him to sit, calm, so many different, things you can do just using a clicker. So again, if you've never used a clicker, again, I'll probably make a video on it at some point, but really look into it because I think it'll change the game for somebody who's new into it. But now let's talk about some field training stuff. So introducing a dog to a scent is really dependent on the dog. I really don't like starting them in this training technique until they're, I would say, roughly 3 months old. You can do it earlier, don't get me wrong, but it really is specific on the dog. And what am I really doing here? Let's say I'm talking about a beagle. What I like to do when I'm hunting from the year before, what I do is I'll take the back feet off of a rabbit I've harvested with the older dogs, and I know I'm having a litter of puppies, or sometimes I just take a few of them just to stash pollen because I know I'm going to need them at some point in time. I'll take the back feet off of them. I'll take 2 or 3 rabbits, and I'll tie them all together. Somebody just starting out, you really don't need a lot of tools. And I'll walk through a little bit on what tools I use for each of these dogs. So with my beagles, only thing I really use, and I just started out with a stick. If you got some fishing line, old tennis shoe, if you got an old sneaker that you don't use anymore, just take the shoestrings out of them. You can use those. Old clothesline. I mean, they're just anything that you can use to make a line or a cord out of. Pretty much you're just going to tie it into the stick. You're going to give yourself, 3 or 4 feet. And you're going to use that other end. You're going to wrap it around those rabbit feet. And you're just basically going to make a toy. So what I like to do is when the puppies are around, I'm just introducing them to this. Just almost think about, a lot of us have been fishing. So think about bluegills. Most of us started going to the pond or going to the lake, just starting out fishing. We all have caught bluegills before. Bluegills are just a little panfish. And my dad always taught us when we were younger, we have our bobbers, we have, the worm on there, and you cast it out. And pretty much what you're going to do is you can see the bluegills for the most part. You can see them looking at your bait. And some of them will shoot up there real fast and you think you're going to get a bite, and they don't. They just sit there and look at it. But then what do? You tease them a little bit. You pull the worm back a little bit. And what do the bluegill do? They'll probably come after it more, and you pull it and tease it a little bit and pull it away from him. And before long, he'll come up and smack it. Now you just caught one. That same concept is what I like to do with my beagle puppies with the rabbit foot. The beagle pup is the bluegill, the rabbit's foot is the worm, and I have the pole. So I'm going to lay it in the area where the pups are playing just to get them curious. And you'll see eventually they'll be playing around and they'll see it. And they'll be curious, like, what is that? So then when I see those dogs, when you see them look at it, what you want to do is twitch it a little bit. Grab that dog's attention, grab that pup's attention, and twitch it a little bit. And as he walks over there, some of them like to stretch their neck out and try to get close just to see what it is. Some of them will come up right to it. Pull it away from them just a little bit. And you'll see that drive, that instinct come out to chase. You'll see it start to develop in that puppy as you do this. You pull it away from a little more, and before long, they're going to try to run after that rabbit's foot. Boom. That is a great sign for a starting little puppy. That is excellent. Now, you don't want to pull it so fast that he loses track of it and he can't chase it. Just keep it in front of him to keep promoting that chase, keep promoting that drive in that pup. That's really all you want to do at that phase, is really starting them in that same manner. But real quick, we got to pay some bills. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. Hey, real quick, or you're somebody who's new to rabbit hunting with beagles, or maybe on the fence and trying to get started or not, you might want a little bit more help getting pointed in the right direction. Well, I got just what you need. Producing a future rabbit dog. So in this short little book, I pretty much lined out exactly what I like to do when I'm picking my puppies, when I'm training my dogs, and just some other concepts I've learned over the years. Me, Ty, with a bunch of my mentors, put this together. A lot of this information is easy to follow. I want it to be as easy as possible for anybody who's never got in with dogs or rabbit hunting with beagles to be able to produce a future rabbit dog. So if you sound like that's you, go on and check it out on Amazon and grab you a copy. So let's talk about a tree dog. You guys know I love my American leopard curs. Some people, they're American leopard hounds, leopard dogs. They're tree dogs. Everyone knows I love them. And if you haven't heard of them, you are truly missing out on a phenomenal breed. Yes, I may be biased, but they're truly excellent dogs. So with my leopards, I pretty much do the same concept, but I may use, a coon I harvested from the seasons past. I'll just keep it. Or, you can go this route too. I've done for a long time is roadkills. Roadkills. Now, we're not talking about old roadkills that the buzzards are starting to peck at and the possums are all happy because they found some rotten piece of meat. No, we're not talking about that type of roadkill, but a freshly roadkill squirrel. You can also do it for your beagles with rabbit's foot if you haven't been able to get one. I've used them for years. So let's just say you took a fresh roadkill squirrel, and you're just going to clip the tail off of it. The same with the coon. You just take his tail off of a roadkill coon, and you're going to do the same exact concept, the same exact technique you're going to use for that tree dog. Again, they're around the same age, and some tree dogs may, mature a little bit later than a beagle does. But again, it's really paying attention for you, keep an eye on that dog. He'll tell you when he's ready for some of those steps. But even at 3 or 4 months old, you can use this. It's the same thing. The dog will be out playing around, exploring and whatnot, and he'll see the squirrel tail or he'll see the coon tail, and he'll be curious about it. And you do the same exact thing. You take it, you move it a little bit as he's watching it, and you'll see him start to want to chase and creep and want to figure out what it is. You move it some more, and before long, they're chasing it. It's the same thing, but you don't want to necessarily have them catch it for a tree dog. You may have them catch it in the first few times after working a little bit just to keep them into it, just keep them driving. But eventually you're going to want to be close to a tree because you're going to want to take that string and that coon tail and that squirrel tail and basically run it up a tree just out of reach of that puppy. And you'll see some of them will start to whimper a little bit. Some of them will get excited about it. Some of them may even just start barking at it. Again, these sessions you really want to keep short though. You really want to keep short. So bird dogs. And again, I'm still new into bird dogs, so it's pretty cool to try to use some of the techniques I've used for my other hound dogs to see if it'll work for this. You can take a pheasant wing. A lot of people have told me to use pheasant wings, and I've had them. You can go buy them from the store or take them from, one either you harvested or your buddies have harvested recently, and kind of do the same thing. They can see it. They'll get curious about it. You kind of want to move it for them. And with a bird dog, though, you don't necessarily want the chase as much as you do with like a coon dog or a beagle. But you can use that pheasant wing to see if they'll point. But you don't want them to catch it. So only the real difference with that is they'll see it. They'll start to come up to it, get curious with it. And you may let them chew on it a little bit just so they know it's a toy. And then you just flip it over its head. And they'll run over there and try to get it. And then you flip it over its head again and not let him catch it. He'll run over there, try to catch it again. You flip it over his head again. And I'm not talking about the dog. You're flipping the wing that's attached to the string away from the dog. And you're flipping it away from the dog and flipping it away from the dog as they're chasing. Eventually, you'll see that dog start to slow down because they'll realize I can't catch it. And what's going to happen is you're going to pull out that pointing instinct. And I have setters, so I'm still working with them on some of it. But you'll pull out that pointing instinct that they have, and they'll go into a point. And you'll see them sit there and watch it and point. Boom. You've completed the basically the drill. You've completed it. You want to keep them short. You really want to keep them short. Both things with these 3 dogs that I described and using this technique, you don't want to do it a whole lot because you don't want to promote the dog just watching, just doing things by sight. You really don't want to promote them doing everything by sight. Because again, they're going to have to use their nose. And we'll talk more about that, but you want them to use their nose. This is just some techniques just to pull out that drive, that hunting instinct in those dogs. So again, what else do you really need though? I said, that was my stick and string, example. If you don't have a lot of money, a lot of us started out, we didn't have a lot of money. You got to be creative with some of these things. What's something else you can use? You can buy a small or large box trap. I've had a lot of times now you go to the store, or a Tractor Supply store. Most of them have combos to where you can buy a larger coon size trap, and interior, it'll be a smaller squirrel size trap. Those are perfect for starting, your tree dog or even starting your beagle. Those are perfect for those things. And you can buy, $30, $40, you can get 2 traps. And if you take real good care of them traps, then you can have them for a really long time. So what could you do for your bird dogs? You can always find on Amazon, I'm sure there's other places where you can find a bird trap. Basically, it's like a larger wire crate. It's maybe only less than a foot tall, and it can be, 3 or 4 feet long. And pretty much what it has is one-way doors. On either end of it, they'll have one-way doors. And how you work that is, if I was trapping pigeons for my bird dog. And what I would do is, first, I would just get the birds used to the trap, and I would just use regular bird feed. You can, again, just go, Menards, Home Depot, some of your other supply stores, and just buy regular bird feed. And I would just start putting it around the trap, just so you don't want the birds to be afraid of it. And this isn't going to be specific for the pigeons. It's just birds in general, because the birds follow each other. Birds of a feather flock. There's people who have used that saying for a long time. So pretty much you're just getting them used to the trap. Now, if you're in an area that you have pigeons, with those, you really want to use whole corn. You really don't want to use cracked corn because, a lot of other birds will go off and take it. But the whole corn, for whatever reason, a lot of smaller birds, they just won't mess with it that often. And it's pretty much like a Hansel and Gretel trail, to where I would put some corn outside of the trap door, and I would put a big pile in the middle. And each of my trap doors, I would just put a nice little pile leading into the actual trap. And a lot of times you can find, pigeons, they're in old barns. There's a lot of people who really trying to get rid of them because they're around in different places. And you can catch the birds, there's a lot of different options. Even with coons, if you're like, man, I really don't have a lot of coons in my area, I don't really even know how to trap a coon. Well, what you could do is talk to, call a extermination place, a pest control place, a business. Get in really good with pest control. Why would you do that? Because most people, we're not talking about, obviously they'll do, your roaches and your bugs, but a lot of them, if they don't do it themselves, have connections with getting animals trapped. I can't tell you how many times, even in law enforcement, that we've been called for there's a coon in somebody's attic. Obviously, we are not going to get it out of there. Some of us have, just for fun, but most time we're going to call animal control or a pest control place to get those animals removed. Squirrels the same. They can get in attics and gutters and under houses and just places to be a nuisance. If you don't want to trap them yourself, you could always call a pest control person and get them and just build a relationship with them and tell them what you're doing. Okay? Because most of them are trying to relocate the animals anyway, if it comes to an extreme situation where they have to dispatch them right there. But most of them are just going to relocate them to another area. And now you just have a free training tool. Building those relationships. Say, hey, I have a young dog. I'm going to train him on treeing raccoons. Hey, is there any way that if, you get a call that you got a raccoon that's trapped or something, or anybody who's having issues with raccoons that wouldn't mind trapping them for me, I would love to come pick them up and take them off your hands. Boom. Now you just made a connection with getting raccoons. Squirrels are the same. And with my younger tree dogs, especially my leopards, I'm sure you can use them for many other dogs. I like to use squirrels to start them. After I've done, the drag work. What is drag work? Drag work is pretty much where you're setting a trail for the animal, for the dog, for the puppy to follow the scent of the game. You make it a game. It's a hide and seek. After you've been through teasing the dog with the rabbit's foot, the coon tail, or the feather, the wing for your bird dogs, after you've teased them with it, now they know what it is. They know it's a toy. They get excited about it. So basically, you're going to drag it across the ground and you're going to hide it somewhere. To begin with, you really don't want to have to make it super hard for them because you want them to start to develop. It's a foundation piece of what they are as hunting dogs, being able to trail game, use their nose. So you want to make it easy for them in the beginning. Very short trails, very short drags, so they can find what you're searching for. They can find their toy, rabbit foot, coontail, or the wing. They can find them. And again, it just promotes using their nose now and not so much sight. And what I would do too is once they did trail it, a short distance and found it, I would pull it out and again go back to letting them chase it, let them chase it, let them chase it. So they get excited for it, and I will let them catch it and shut it down. One of my mentors, Mike, always taught me you want to stop the training, especially this early when the dogs are most excited. Give them something to think about. When they're most excited, you leave them wanting more. So I think a lot of times starting puppies being new, and I did it too, we can overtrain them or do too long of a training session to where the pup just, one, they get tired. Their mental capacity for paying attention is no different from us as kids. We couldn't sit there for hours and hours trying to do a task. We just get bored, get tired, go off in la la land. We're kids. Our brain is still developing. So you want to start them in the right direction by keeping the training session short. Trust me, you'll thank me later if you do it. And what else would you need? It's just really a will to win, a will to understand what you're doing, understanding what the purpose of this drill is, this training technique. What is the purpose of it? You have to pay attention to that because it'll allow you to know when to move on to the next step, when to try something harder for that dog, or it will allow you to know when to step back a little bit. Okay, the dog is not quite catching on to what I want him to do. I'll give him some time. Go back to letting him be a puppy. Give him a week. Give him 2 weeks. Just give him a little time to develop a little more and reintroduce it and just watch and see. Dog training is really coming back to paying attention to the dog. The dog will tell you so much if you just actually watch him, And that goes into what are some of the things and some of the mistakes I made starting out when I was really new, when I was really fresh into it, not really knowing what the heck I was doing. And my mentors played a huge part, but you still have to learn on your own. One of the mistakes was trying to start them too early. Trying to do too much while they were too young can just build frustration, and then it can honestly make the dog go backwards. It can really make them go backwards. Overcorrection. With the dog, you're starting them too early, so he's not doing what you want him or you think they should be doing. So it may be frustrating, and now you try to correct the dog, but now you overcorrected them, and the dog almost can, I wouldn't say build fear, but now they're disinterested in whatever game you were trying to introduce them to. And that could mean as easy as raising your voice. Some dogs, if you raise your voice at them, they may not respond to that as well. To avoid some of those mistakes of overcorrecting, just put the puppy up or change the game or just let them play. Just do something. Keep it fun. Keep it light. Another one is, again, not reading the dog. They'll tell you so much. They will tell you so much. If you're getting to the point now to where you're trying to work them with a drag, with a rabbit's foot, a coon tail, a bird wing, and the dog just doesn't care for it, just give them time. If you've got to the point in your training to where now you're starting to introduce live game to them, pay attention to how confident that dog is. Does that dog show any signs of nervousness? If so, shut it down. Try again at another date. You really don't want to start that dog on the wrong foot. And again, having training sessions too long, they're babies at the end of the day. They are babies. And if you approach it with that mindset that, okay, this is just a little tiny pup, you got to think about this dog could live to 12 years old. This span of just a few months, 1 year, is very small. And most of us, train our dogs to do stuff at 7, 8, 9 months old, to where they're pretty much into adulthood after that, and they're no longer puppies. So allow them to be puppies. I can't say it enough. Trust me, you'll thank me later. And putting together that really good foundation. That foundation. Because what the foundation is going to do is going to help you in the future. It's going to allow you to do the things that you set out to do from the very beginning. But it starts with that foundation. So again, we're just really going to keep this thing rolling. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to keep talking and developing these puppies. And I will never tell you, and I'm not going to be a person to say the way that I do it is the way to do it. No, there are many options, and I just want to give you, that's what I'm here for, to give options on getting you guys started in the right direction, as somebody did for me. And I hope you just learn as much from me as I do from you guys. And again, we always keep it real over here. We always keep it respectful. And we're just trying to learn. We're just trying to better ourselves in this game that we chose of being houndsmen and houndswomen. You're just always trying to be better. Be better a little bit every single day, and before long, you'll be a master at it. Anybody can do it. You can do it. Just stay at it. Stay focused. Just keep going. And I'm Stevie Thomas of Ballin' Out Kennels. As always, stay sharp, stay real, stay houndy.